Queen Sylvie of the multiple award-winning The Queen Sylvie Show. You want to expand and get noticed? Then come outside your box and into our world. Internet advertising has a real impact on global awareness and even sales, so let's make an impact together. Offering for a limited time advertising and sponsorship packages that excel your purpose. So contact Queen Sylvie or Smooth Tim for the exciting opportunities that awaits. Yeah.
Are you tired of driving around a dirty car? Say hello to the ultimate solution for your car. Quick Auto Detail, home, work, or wherever. Their mobile car spa will clean and shine your car anytime and anywhere. Their products are gentle on your car's paint, and they use only the highest quality materials. Book your appointment now.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? It's time for the final countdown. The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's rock.
Gotcha. No! Political parties can divide us, and I know we've been a big part of the problem, but don't believe everything you see or hear because we have much more in common than we think.
So this year, especially, whether you're a Democrat
or Republican,
be an individual,
be independent, be a free thinker, and let's bring America together again.
All right, there we go. Is that a way to start off the show? And thank you for dropping in and spending some time on another Wednesday, rather, your hump day on Tim's Tidbits. I certainly appreciate it. I thank you so much for dropping in. Hope you enjoyed that little clip of "Can't we just all get along?" Yeah, sure we could. Absolutely we can. Put some of that other garbage off to the side, and we are all the same people. Just all trying to go to the same place and get the same thing done, right? And just, make our lives a little bit better every day. And I hope you intend on doing that. And I hope you do that and make the life of everybody around you better too. Hey, speaking of everybody around me, excuse me, I'd like to shout out some analytics from last week's show. Those of you in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Mexico, Germany, Poland, Africa, Ireland, France, and Australia. Hey, thank you guys for tuning on into Tim's Tidbits. Certainly really do appreciate it. Anyhow, hey, it is, let's see, hey, it's winding down. We're getting into the end of summer and starting becoming the beginning of fall, and starting to see some of that weather around the trees around us and around the Great Lakes. I don't know how it's going around your part of the country. Hopefully you're surviving some of the heat. I know we have some drought conditions. I'm sure everybody's suffering a little bit from the drought conditions. And I hope that doesn't impact us too much when we go to the market this coming spring, by the time they process all that feed and grain and that the farmer's going to be bringing in, or lack thereof. We'll see what happens. Anyhow, hey, let's get on to what the hell is happening in the news. And what the hell is happening in the news is there's a little town just to the south of us, actually to the southeast of us, here in Toledo area. It's Springfield, Ohio, that's under attack for some reason by the ex-President Trump and his running buddy J.D. Vance as being some type of, I don't know, degenerate community that harbors all kinds of fugitives and Haitians that are doing all kinds of horrible things. And they're spreading this stuff without cause, without reason, without any real support. But in any regards, hey, let's check out this video and see what Trump had to say about how he is going to save Springfield and, I guess, the country from all these illegals that are crossing the border, just making this country so horrific.
Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump pledged to conduct mass deportations of Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio on Friday, even though the majority of them are in the United States legally.
I can say this, we will do large deportations from Springfield, Ohio.
The city has been at the center of a social media maelstrom after right-wing agitators latched onto false claims that Haitian arrivals were eating household pets. The majority of the 15,000 Haitians in Springfield are there legally. Trump's long-standing pledge to conduct mass deportations usually refers to those in the country illegally. He did not repeat the assertions he made during Tuesday's presidential debate with Democrat Kamala Harris that immigrants were eating dogs and cats. Those remarks have been widely mocked. President Joe Biden at the White House on Friday addressed the issue directly.
Community that's under attack in our country right now. Simply wrong. There's no place in America. This has to stop what he's doing. It has to stop.
Haitian community leaders across the U.S. have said Trump's remarks could put lives at risk and further inflame tensions in Springfield. Thousands of recent Haitian arrivals there have boosted the local economy, but also strained the social safety net. City officials say they have received no credible reports of anybody eating household animals.
Right? Yeah, so where do they come up with that stuff? And then you promote that type of hate, that kind of animosity towards another culture, in this instant, Haitians. It's always something with Trump. You got to hate somebody. And, he called them like they're using them as part of some ceremonial stuff. That's what they do. You accuse them of like voodoo or something. Who the hell knows? He goes off the deep end, with all that bullshit. It's insane. But, you need to dial it back a little bit because, there's all kinds of problems being caused by this. They've had bomb threats in the school. They've got the Proud Boys. Remember the stand back and stand down boys? Oh, yeah, well, they're hanging around Springfield, standing back, standing down. I guess until Donnie gives them the word. I don't know what the hell they're doing there, but in any regards. And J.D. Trump, who started all this BS, he was on two separate shows, folks. They give him the opportunity to roll back dial back the story that is just total garbage. And let's see how well J.D. did when they give him an opportunity to dial it back just a bit. Maybe some of that rhetoric that's causing all these issues.
Senator, officials, the mayor, other local officials have said there's just no evidence of what you're saying, that it's baseless, those claims. Can't you just make your argument about immigration without making those claims, Senator? Why not just make an argument about immigration? Why do you have to delve into repeating these baseless claims that, again, Senator, have been repeated by neo-Nazis?
Kristen, I hear you saying that they're baseless, but I'm not repeating them because I invented them out of thin air. I'm repeating them because my constituents are saying these things are happening. I mean,
but there's
just
no
yesterday,
evidence.
a video came out of a migrant 30 miles away eating a cat. Clearly, these rumors are out there because constituents are seeing it with their own eyes, and some of them are talking about it. Now, look, we also have to talk about and should primarily talk about the effects that this has had on car insurance rates, on disease rates. Those are the things that I'm spending 95% of my time talking about, Kristen. But again, the media didn't care about this story until we started sharing the 911 call about the geese. That is an indictment of the American media. But the real problem here, Kristen, let me just finish this point, is Kamala Harris opened the border with no plan for how to assimilate 20,000 people. It's made the community worse off. That's what we should be focused on.
Senator, I have to say, though, that the mayor from Dayton in that video that you're talking about and police chief responded forcefully to that new video you just referenced. They say there's absolutely no evidence to even remotely suggest that immigrants are eating pets.
Aiden Clark, who is an 11-year-old boy who was killed in Springfield last year. It was a car accident involving a Haitian immigrant. You said that he was murdered. His father said that's not true. It was an accident. Here's what he said to you.
Politicians, Bernie Moreno, Chip Roy, J.D. Vance, and Donald Trump, they have spoken my son's name and used his death for political gain. This needs to stop now. They are not allowed, nor have they ever been allowed to mention Aiden Clark from Springfield, Ohio. I will listen to them one more time to hear their apologies.
Senator, he's asking for you to apologize. Will you?
Dana, first of all, my heart goes out to the Clark family, and I don't bring their son's name up because they've clearly expressed a preference for politicians to not bring their son's name up. I wish them all the best. I can't believe what kind of a tragedy they've experienced, but I'm still going to keep on talking about what the migrants have done to Springfield, Ohio, and what Kamala Harris's open border has done to Springfield, Ohio. And Dana,
just once and for all, you again started this in part by saying that, at which Donald Trump repeated on the debate stage, that, and he didn't say anything about the policies that you're talking about. He just said Haitians are eating dogs and cats. Can you affirmatively say now that that is a rumor that has no basis with evidence?
Dana, the evidence is the first-hand account of my constituents who are telling me that this happened. And by the way, I've been trying to talk about the problems in Springfield for months, and the American media ignored it. There was a congressional hearing just last week of angel moms who lost children because Kamala Harris let criminal migrants into this country who then murdered their children. The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do.
Stories. So he'll let the cat out of the bag there. If I actually have to create stories to get the attention of the American people. And then what was it, the prior interview? I just didn't pull that out of thin air. I heard it from one of my constituents over here, over there, somewhere down here, up there. I don't know, but yep. So it's got to be true. Even though you said that everybody has absolutely no evidence, I don't care if there's no evidence. It's true. They just won't retract that. So anyhow, hey, wow, it's just kind of like a lot of things that they say, and you wonder, just what was it last week? Don said he was for IVF. Is he? I don't know. He may or may not be. He flip-flops on everything else, but I wonder.
All my husband and I wanted was to have children. 5 years, all of our savings. Not to mention, I was a human pincushion with all the hormone shots. Each round made me crazy. The ultrasounds, the blood tests. But finally, we got 5 viable embryos. Richard was over the moon. Me too. They outlawed IVF, and they're seizing our embryos. All because they can't trust us to preserve human life. I can't believe it. I'm at the Mexican border. We ran out of gas. The dry ice is melting.
Hey, who knows? You know, the way they are with the Roe v. Wade incident, you know, on the Dobbs decision, overturning Roe v. Wade. And, you know, is he for abortions, not abortions, late-term abortions, early-term abortions? You tell me, folks. I have no real clue. But anyhow, there was a real interesting twist is that obviously some people may or may not have tuned in and watched the Democratic National Convention, and it was decent, comparable to the Republican Convention, I guess. It's all a bunch of show, all a bunch of flash. But, and anyhow, the real outcome of it was shortly after that, kind of for what I've been leading up to there is Kamala got a huge endorsement from Taylor Swift. And it seemed that Taylor's plea was, not necessarily get out there and vote for Kamala, but basically get out there and vote, exercise instead of sitting back here watching social media, instead of sitting back here belly aching about all this bull. Get something done about it. Use your constitutional right, your constitutional privilege, rather, as a citizen of the United States, to get out there and vote. Do it. Anyhow, that huge jump had some unbelievable numbers of young people now that have went online immediately after Taylor put this out, that she wants you to get out there and register, and she's throwing her support, in the Kamala's ring. But check this out.
What are you seeing from Taylor Swift in her endorsement, especially in terms of driving civic participation?
Yeah, so I think this is a question a lot of us had after we saw the endorsement. I think a lot of people expected it was coming, but the question of how much of an impact will she have beyond just the excitement, the likes on Instagram, will it translate into voter registration? So we can see some of the back end data in terms of the data that is coming and hitting off the voter file that we build. And what we saw was this really massive increase. We're calling it the Swift effect now because it's really unlike anything I've seen. We're seeing a 400 or 500% increase in people coming and trying to register to vote immediately following the debate and in that period after Taylor Swift posted on Instagram. And what's really remarkable about that is usually you'll see these increases and they kind of fade away. In this case, we've seen it continue through the last 2 days into today.
How so?
Well, I'm told, I have 2 teenage daughters, that she was on the Video Music Awards on MTV last night. Apparently, she put out another pitch for people to register to vote. And so we're seeing this continued spike of 4 or 5 times what you would regularly see. So we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood 9,000 to 10,000 people per hour just hitting our system. That's not indicative of everything, but it's a lot of it.
Out of nowhere, after the debate last night, Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris. What do you think?
Well, I actually like Mrs. I actually like Mrs. Mahomes much better, if you want to know the truth. She's a big Trump fan. I was not a Taylor Swift fan. It was just a question of time. You couldn't possibly endorse Biden. You look at Biden, you couldn't possibly endorse him. But she's a very liberal person. She seems to always endorse a Democrat, and she'll probably pay a price for it in the marketplace.
Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. Recently, I was made aware that AI of me, quote me, falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to his site. It really conjured up my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. Then she says, quote, I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I'm voting for Kamala Harris because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we're led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. I've done my research, and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is yours to make. I also want to say, especially to first-time voters, remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I will link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, signed Childless Cat Lady.
All those things, I am incredibly grateful, first of all, to Taylor Swift. I say that also as a cat owner, a fellow cat owner. Look, Swifties, you heard it. We know that it's there. That was eloquent.
That was hilarious. So, hey, you know, there it is. You know, you start to try to take the rights away from women, you're going to get some repercussion. You know, they have the right to do what they want with their bodies, just like they have the right to vote. You know, everything that they fought for through the years, as has every other repressed sex and or minority or whatever we seem to have the want or need to, you know, step on somebody's throat and keep them down. And let's, you know, it's time that we all get along, folks. Anyhow, interesting. They call that the Swift effect. So they're having, what was that figure they threw down? Let me look at 9,000 to 10,000 per hour registering. So they've had almost a 500, nearing a 500% increase in voter registration. So should be interesting. Man, who knows? Wow. Anyhow, hey, let's move on out of politics momentarily and move on over into, what is it? Maricopa County, Arizona. Maricopa County, Arizona. Almost sounds like a nice place, doesn't it? Maricopa County, Arizona. But apparently it is outside of Phoenix. And what's going on with Maricopa County, Arizona? Well, check out this video and find out.
We're outside the Maricopa County Intake, Transfer, and Release Facility near 27th Avenue and Lower Buckeye, getting a new look at an attempted assault that happened here, an inmate crawling from the men's side over to the women's side.
Mr. Avery, you're here for several felony charges.
April 11th, Justin Avery was arrested, accused of assaulting two women near Arizona State's campus. Avery was free the very next day when police say he assaulted 3 more women, also at ASU. Later that week, Avery was in the Maricopa County Intake, Transfer, and Release Facility near 27th Ave and Buckeye, awaiting court processing for the charges. The facility is separated into 2 sides, male and female. But watch on the screen as security cameras show Avery dropping to the ground and beginning to crawl, undetected by detention officers, over to the female side of the facility. We'll stop the video here, but it shows him getting behind a woman who was asleep and lowering his pants. Court records say another woman said aloud, "Hey, get off her," to which video shows Avery shushing the woman, the noise alerting an officer who called for backup. The entire incident lasting about a minute and a half. When questioned later, Avery told investigators he crawled like a, quote, spider, drawn to the woman's physical appearance. But how did he go undetected? We asked MCSO about the incident, and they told ABC 15 in part, quote, detention officers' eyes cannot be everywhere all of the time. And they say once seen, detention officers responded immediately and removed the inmate to an enclosed cell. They also say the facility employs a direct supervision model used nationwide, allowing for, quote, efficiency, safety, and dignity for all involved. Once in that enclosed cell, Avery telling investigators his intention was to rape the victim. MCSO says the Intake, Transfer, and Release Facility, quote, has been in operation for over 4 years, and this is the first incident of its kind. MCSO will continue looking for research-backed ways to improve and accomplish that mission.
Wow. So dude was going to crawl on over intake into the sheriff's office, tag himself a little bit of booty before he got locked up. Now he got there's some other charges. Did they say what the hell he was in there for to begin with? Rape or some probably same exact damn shit. But then, wow, yeah, that was crazy. And then snuck right underneath the table, right? And, yeah, CO was back there. I don't know what the CO was over there doing. You know, staring at a monitor, staring at, I don't know, YouTube ads. I have no idea. Man, could have been watching Tim's Tid-Bits. Shame on you for watching that when you should have been watching those inmates. Anyhow, hey, speaking of cops, you know, there's good cops, bad cops. But sometimes there's like bad cops. He's a bad cop. 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 I guess it just does not matter how many chances you give a mug. They just can't get it worked out to be a good cop. They're just the bad cop, as they're finding up in Wayne County, Michigan.
Some people are meant to be the police, and some people are meant to call the police. He's someone who's meant to call the police.
This is a story about a sheriff's deputy who's not allowed to be a police officer.
This man is not qualified to be in public safety at all, period.
Until his latest job, Jamonte Horton had been fired or forced to resign from every law enforcement department he's worked for. Today, he wears a badge from the Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Horton's problems began early in his career. While only a cadet with Wayne State Police, he showed up to a party with a loaded gun. After a fight broke out, Horton was shot and returned fire. He resigned in 2015 for his role in the shooting. His next stop, Ypsilanti Police, where Horton was written up for missing shifts, found sleeping in his patrol vehicle, and caught playing a homemade pornographic video featuring himself to his fellow officers while on duty. He was also written up for putting those officers at risk, leaving a sergeant alone during a traffic stop and missing a knife during a search of a domestic violence suspect. And when he was working a sexual assault investigation, Horton failed to follow simple orders that led the case to be ignored for 2.5 months, leaving the suspect free on the streets.
We really do want you on our team.
The Wayne County Sheriff's Office made Jamonte Horton a deputy. Since he resigned in Highland Park 2 years ago, Horton's law enforcement license was deactivated by the state, meaning he can't serve as a police officer until it's turned back on. But it turns out you don't need an active law enforcement license to work as a deputy inside a jail, where Horton works today.
We want to hire individuals committed to serving our citizens with honor and integrity.
Honor and integrity. Yeah, that's what you call that. Sounds like you ought to have somebody that's concerned after they pass a half-assed decent background check. But, you know, how many times have we went over this? I think, my God, how many shows have I covered, you know, over the past few years in the Tid-Bits, talking about where the guys just get in under the radar, and it doesn't take them long, you know, for that nut to surface back on up again, you know. The bad apples are definitely going to float to the top of the barrel. Happens every time. Every time. Anyhow, hey, speaking of interesting things, Israel came up with this novel idea, and this happened over the weekend, is how about, since Hamas, you know, likes to keep in communication, like, you know, our old day, our old day gangsters, okay? When they used to have the pagers, right? All right, so they utilize pagers over there, you know, to apparently maneuver their troops or do whatever. So Israel thinking, hey, you know, wow, we've got these Americans that turned in all these old pagers. Turned in all these old pagers. And the Hamas uses these pagers, you know, for their army, you know, to signal them where to go, what to do, blah, 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 blah. How about if we load them up with some plastic explosive? right? And then we simultaneously do a like all page that blows all these guys up at the same time. You think it might work? I don't know. We could give it a shot.
Well, Hezbollah says it is holding Israel responsible and vowing to retaliate after hundreds of pagers carried by members of the terror group blew up at the same time today across Lebanon. At least 8 people were killed and many more were sent to hospital. CTV's Heather Wright is here now. And Heather, take us through what happened.
Well, Sandy, Hezbollah has called this a major security breach. Thousands of people injured in what appears to have been a highly coordinated attack. Ambulances carry injured people to hospital after hundreds of pagers belonging to members of Hezbollah exploded at once this afternoon. So far, there have been more than 2,800 injuries, 200 of which are critical, Lebanon's health minister said. At least 8 people have been killed, including a young girl. Among those hurt, Iran's ambassador to Lebanon, who had, quote, slight injuries. Hezbollah operatives have reportedly used pagers to communicate for years. They are harder to track than modern cell phones, and messages are less likely to be intercepted. And while it's not clear exactly how hundreds of pagers were rigged to explode at once, some experts believe they may have been intercepted and tampered with before they even got into the hands of Hezbollah operatives.
And here, there were multiple pagers that were purchased, but the pagers themselves were compromised. And when they got into the hands of the target, there was a trigger sequence that essentially caused them all to explode at once.
Israel and Hezbollah, the Iran-backed militant group that controls large parts of southern Lebanon, have been trading cross-border attacks, which have escalated over the last year. Yesterday, Israel said it was contemplating stepping up its military campaign against the group, though today would not comment on whether it was involved in the pager attack. Hezbollah has warned Israel it will get what it calls, quote, fair punishment for this attack. Meanwhile, Israel says it is reviewing both offensive and defensive operations in the event of retaliation. Sandy.
CTV's Heather Wright.
Oh, you think? You think they're not? Yeah, they're going to retaliate, but that was a pretty ingenious idea to give all these guys pagers and shit and then do like a group page. So yeah, and blow them up. Wow. That's some James Bond type thinking shit. That's unbelievable. Anyhow, yeah, well, prepare, how things are still going to be going on, obviously, in the Middle East. It looks like Israel's not going to roll it back, and Iran's not going to roll it back from supplying Hamas. And still things happening in Ukraine and Russia, still things going on in North Korea, South Korea. It's a wonderful place, and look what we got going on here in between. Our candidates even want to attack a poor little town like Springfield, Ohio. Leave Springfield the hell alone, Donnie. Anyhow, let's go on a little bit on something I found interesting, and this was, I did not know that when you go into the little convenience stores and gas stations, that the ATM sitting in the corner and stuff was the property of the owner of the store, and how I did that. I always thought it was supplied by a major company. I don't know why I thought like that. They just obviously rent it and then take a skim or however that works for, supplying that money. But in any regards, that they're having some real issues with ATMs, and the people have found out a way to compromise that and just clean them out with a single transaction.
Courtney, Tom, police say the crooks walked into this Texaco. They plugged into this ATM, then they drained the cash machine. We have surveillance video. Check this out. Take a good look at these two guys. Gwinnett County Police say they ripped off at least 2 convenience stores in what investigators call a jackpot scam.
What they're doing is basically just emptying out the ATM machine, using it as their quote-unquote personal piggy bank.
It happened on August 27th at this Texaco on Pleasant Hill Road in unincorporated Duluth.
They're making it look like they're trying to withdraw some money.
Police tell Fox 5 the crooks target gas stations and convenience stores using ATMs with outdated software.
These guys are using either a USB stick to introduce this malware or some type of a connection, wired connection. What they were actually doing was introducing a form of malware, a virus, if you would, into the software of that ATM machine. The software malware then allows the suspects in this case to withdraw unlimited amounts of money.
Police say the pair drained thousands of dollars from the ATM.
And then they repeated the same action in another gas station on August 29th.
Investigators say the crooks hit this Chevron on Brazelton Highway in Buford. Police say no customers' accounts or personal information were compromised. The only victims, the stores.
Is feeling bad.
Shameen Ahmed manages the Texaco crooks hit on the 27th. When you saw the guy come in, did you think he was up to no good?
No, I don't know.
He says they stole about $4,800 from his machine.
This money was our loss.
Ahmed says a hit like this hurts. Can you get that money back?
No, I didn't get any money back.
No, I did not know that. Yeah, that was privately owned, I guess, and that they, that's part of their profit, the percentage that they make for, letting you access the ATM for cash. Unbelievable. Anyhow, hey, let's move on up, and there's a couple of my favorite parts of the shows that I always like to show people, and one of them is called Dude, Really? What the fuck? And I have a couple of what the fuck moments for you, and the first one is, how do you kind of enjoy BMX biking or trick biking? You've seen it on the Olympics, you've seen it on TV, you've seen it on all kinds of various programs. Now you're going to see it on Tim's Tidbits.
Ostatni przejazd to będzie.
I was just doing one by one, waiting for the last one. I can't believe it. He has just done it.
Yeah, unbelievable. He has just done it. Yeah, I enjoy that. Red Bull and X Games, and then, some of the tricks when they do the tricks on the, it can be on the BMX bikes, it can be on skis, it can be on skateboards, that stuff. Some of the athletic ability of some of these people are astonishing. And that was definitely a what the fuck moment. That was cool. Anyhow, hey, let's move on to another what the fuck moment. And that would be, this takes going to the farmer's market to a whole new level. Honest to God, it does.
Well, Annalisa, imagine finding part of a cucumber in the grill of your own car. You discovered how it got there, and even worse, why. It's part of the sex act that happened right behind these homes directly across the street from Dunbar High School. Now, we've stopped the video you're about to see at the very moment that cucumber is used in the sex act for obvious reasons. And right now, police are looking for that suspect. A shocking sight in broad daylight.
I was so disgusted and freaked out.
It was dinner time just after 5:30 Friday when a man with an apparent lunchbox crept into Catherine Baker's driveway, lodged a cucumber in her SUV's grill, checked to see if the coast was clear, and began performing a lewd act.
I want my neighbors to know and keep an eye out for this person. I want parents to be mindful. There's a lot of kids They're high school students. They walk by themselves to and from school.
The alley where this happened is a stone's throw from Dunbar High School.
Just children walking around. You just have neighborhood kids, elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Right.
So it's just a kid-friendly neighborhood, so definitely want to get him out of the way.
The police report then details what's also quite clear in the video. The suspect chose to keep going, this time in plain view, and even appearing to notice the camera, recording the whole thing before putting the vegetable back in the lunchbox and walking away.
It was that eye contact that really unsettled me because it then continues for longer than one would imagine.
Then he put it back in the lunchbox. So wait a minute. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Yeah, this smells like shit, tastes like shit. Don't eat the cucumber. Anyhow, yeah. Wow. Let's move on to another part that everybody seems to enjoy, and that is our asshole of the week. This one is kind of a longer one, but I want you to pay attention to it because sometimes you can have, have somebody exercising, I guess, their authority outside the scope of their real authority. And where could that happen at? That could happen in the city. That could happen in the county. That just happens to be happening in a county in Ohio. We are in the news so big this week. But anyhow, let's check out this week's Asshole of the Week.
In Portage County, Ohio, near Cleveland, the local sheriff is urging residents to take down the addresses of supporters of Vice President Kamala Harris, suggesting he would send undocumented residents to live with them if Harris wins the election. Democrats describe the sheriff's statements as intimidating, and some Republicans aren't happy with him either. Morgan Trow with Scripps News Cleveland has more.
There's controversy in Portage County as residents say they're now afraid to put up yard signs, all because of a Facebook post from law enforcement.
Why would I want to put something in my yard to be targeted for?
Portage County voter David Lindvay says he won't be putting up his Kamala Harris for President sign anymore. Neither is Sheila Longmire.
Saying that he wanted to know the address of everybody that's supporting her, that's crazy. That's scary.
They both say that their county sheriff is trying to intimidate them. On September 14th, Portage County Sheriff Bruce Zukowski posted on both his personal and professional Facebook pages saying, "When people ask me what's going to happen if the flip-flopping laughing hyena wins, I say write down all the addresses of the people who had signs in their yards."
I should be able to vote for who I want to vote for without my safety being violated.
Zukowski, a Republican running for re-election, continued in his viral post. So, when the illegal human locust, which she supports, need places to live, we already have the addresses of their new families who supported their arrival.
Do I have to be fear of my life because I'm talking with you guys or what? I mean, it's kind of crazy because I'm a different color.
We reached out to Zukowski and the sheriff's office, but didn't hear back. But County GOP chairperson Amanda Suffolk sat down with us to defend his perspective.
If he'd have been just boring, no one would be talking about this. So this puts it front and center. Is illegal immigration illegal? And do people within the county, within the state care about it? And indeed they do.
We asked her specifically about his remarks on the VP and immigrants.
He called her a laughing hyena. So there's no racist statement in that. Of course he did. I mean, we've always had caricatures in politics.
Still, she says this wasn't voter intimidation, just a way to start a conversation.
Is this something that you should be fearful of? And no, he took artistic license, got some attention.
Local officials on each side of the aisle are upset about this and Suffolk's response. According to Tony Badalamenti, a Republican county commissioner, there is nothing they can do to hold Zukowski accountable for spreading fear throughout the county.
No commissioner has any authority over any other elected official in the county.
However, he told us he's making a personal decision. He has resigned from his role on the GOP Central Committee, a position he worked at with Zukowski.
When somebody says something that was just said on Facebook for everybody to be proud to see,
That's very disturbing to the people in Portage County. This is the last straw that I just decided that I would walk away.
Now, both Badalamenti and Lenve are going to vote for the Democrat running against Zukowski, John Barber.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for somebody that violates my privacy.
In Kent, I'm Morgan Shroud reporting.
That's sad. And then the perspective of what was that woman? She was with the GOP. Down there thinking that there was he's just starting the conversation by saying, I'm going to take down your name and I'm going to make sure that everybody knows it. And when Trump gets elected, just like, what was the threat that Trump made? I played that on last week's show. He's got to take care of anybody who is against him. You know, if you weren't for him, you were against him. And if you are against him, you are an enemy. And they will be coming after you. Probably me. See if I can dodge that shit. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Hopefully I'll be here for a little while longer anyhow, just to keep you entertained, keep you informed, because that's what I enjoy doing. But in any regards, hey, that is it for the show tonight, and we are going to get out of here. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And we're going to get out of here with a little bit of a history lesson, because, you know, occasionally you'll hear the right saying that the election was stolen, the election is being manipulated, and you would sit there and thinking, how can this happen in this day and age? Because it's been happening for hundreds of years. In fact, it even happened back in 1876. So let's go back a little bit in history and see what the hell I am talking about. And until next week, peace. We'll see you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
The most hotly contested election in our nation's history did not take place in the year 2000, or even 2020. It took place in 1876. The Civil War ended in 1865, but 11 years after Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox, America was on the verge of another outbreak of violence between the North and the South. A deal was made to preserve the nation. The price? The end of Reconstruction and the preservation of white supremacy. In the decades following the Civil War, the United States emerged as an industrial giant. Railroads crisscrossed the country. Steel bridges connected cities. Skyscrapers and Ferris wheels reached for the heavens. Electrical grids powered homes and businesses. Oil refineries fueled nationwide progress. The telephone and typewriter transformed communication. By the end of the century, we had coffee pots, escalators, elevators, cars, chewing gum, paper clips, and even Jell-O. New amendments to the Constitution created a land of promise and opportunity for many. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery and involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime. The 14th Amendment conferred citizenship on all persons born or naturalized in the United States, making formerly enslaved black people U.S. citizens. And the 15th Amendment made unconstitutional the use of race to prevent black men from voting. Reconstruction, the effort to restore southern states to the Union and incorporate 4 million newly freed American citizens into the United States, was working. Yet, the U.S. Army continued to occupy the South, to enforce compliance with federal law. The country was united, albeit tenuously. In 1876, a centennial exposition in Philadelphia celebrated the 100th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It was also an election year. On June 17, 1876, the Republicans, the party that guided the Union to victory in the Civil War, nominated Rutherford B. Hayes for president and William A. Wheeler for vice president. 9 days later, the Democrats, then the party of racism and white supremacy, nominated Samuel J. Tilden and Thomas A. Hendricks. As returns came in on the evening of November 7th, the nation held its breath. In the early count, Tilden appeared to have the lead. The next morning, Democratic newspapers proclaimed his victory. Then, on November 9th, Republicans announced a Hayes win. But this game was just beginning. Tilden won the popular vote, but results in 3 states were in dispute: Florida, South Carolina, and Louisiana. Neither side would concede. The nation was thrown into chaos. The Florida governor reported that a special train sent out to get returns had been Ku Kluxed and thrown from the track. Amid reports of fraud and armed threats to black voters, then President Grant, the former commander of the Union Army, sent troops to the capitals of all 3 disputed states. Just 11 years after the Civil War, it looked like it could start all over again. Congress passed an act authorizing a commission to decide the winner of the 1876 presidential election. The bipartisan commission voted to give the electoral votes of the disputed states to the Republican, Hayes. In exchange, Democrats got something they wanted. Hayes agreed to withdraw Union troops from the South. With that assurance, the deal went through, beginning the end of Reconstruction. So, despite winning the popular vote, Tilden lost the election, with 184 electoral votes to Hayes's 185. And on March 2nd, 1877, almost 4 months after Election Day, Rutherford B. Hayes became the 19th President of the United States. President Hayes made good on his promise to withdraw the troops from the South. He kept the Union together at the expense of the rights of black Americans. The criminal legal system quickly became a tool to control black people. By 1870, the prison population of Alabama went from 90% white to over 80% black. By 1880, elected officials in more than a third of U.S. states enacted felony disenfranchisement laws, taking the vote away from people convicted of crimes. Poll taxes, grandfather clauses, and literacy tests were employed to keep black men from voting. When that wasn't enough, white supremacists used violence and even murder to prevent black men from going to the polls. Elected officials in states across the South passed Jim Crow laws, enforcing segregation in virtually every aspect of American life. The election of 1876 ended with a compromise that ensured the continuation of racism and racist violence in our nation's culture and politics that has lasted to this day.